I'm live. I'm live. I've actually gone live. Well, I just want you to buy me a coffee, basically. I've run out of coffee. I don't know why. Why am I here? What's it all about? Maybe nobody will turn up. I'll be here on my own, then I can just talk to myself, which I'm doing all the time lately. I'm just having a few glasses of wine, cup glasses of wine, you know. I just watched Carl's video. Hello, 2 people, 2 eyes in the room. Hello, whoever you are. I'm going to put the invite here. If anybody wants to speak. If anybody wants to speak now or forever hold thy peace. My hair looks bloody awful. It's not about that. It's about, 5 people. Hello, Dazzler Bob. Hello, Jenny. Hello, StreamYard. There's a duck there called StreamYard. The StreamYard is what I'm on. Having a few glasses of wine. I'm not drunk, but I'm just sort of chilling out a bit. And I hope you're doing all right there. Hello, Radka. Hello, everybody in the room. Anybody wants to come on to talk about their views? I'll put that link in again. I think you just click on it and then you pop up. I won't probably do this for very long, but it's just, I'm lonely. See, I'm lonely. That's why I'm doing it. No, that's not the reason. And it's for the coffee. I'm doing it for the coffee. But anyway, that's the link. I just watched according to Carl in the UK's video, which is very good, asking questions about the jury and how basically we can talk about other subjects as well, I know, apart from the case, but that's what I think of it now, with a case, although I don't like thinking of it as a case. It's just, I watch a lot of true crime things, but this isn't anything to do with true crime. It's nothing to do with true crime because because it's in the title, and there's no crimes. There's no crimes. Hi, Jen. Have you read old Vanity Fair article that was pro brewery? Oh, really? Oh, I haven't. Vanity Fair. Pro brewery. Oh, God. Well, it's part of the pushback, isn't it? I don't know if I can read that. There's certain things I just can't do anymore. I listened to Tea Break with Tasha's really brilliant video in which she was cutting between. I might try and read it, Jenny. Tea Break with Tasha was cutting between that radio interview that Jabe had put up from Evans's interview on Welsh radio, wasn't it? And I thought, I'm not going to be able to listen to Evans because it was broken up into bits. I could listen to it. It's literally, I feel ill, you know. I feel ill listening to that. Anyway, pro brewery. What a horrendous idea. Bollocks to Vanity Fair. I don't know. Some of these. I don't know why they would do that. Maybe they believe it. Maybe it's just a game to them. You know, they just say, "Oh, let's run with an oppositional thing, and just see how that floats." You know, let's just play a game with this. But it's an old article. Oh, Jenny. Oh, well, then maybe that's a bit different. Mervyn's here. I'm going to click on Mervyn. Hello, Mervyn. Add Mervyn to the page. Hi there, Mervyn. How are you doing there?
Hi, Mark. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. How are you doing, Mervyn? Welcome, and welcome to everyone else. And how's it going there?
Hi, Mark. Can you hear me? Yeah, good. Mark,
Yes.
I came across your channel about a year ago, I'd say.
Right, really? Bigger than that, yeah. Started over a year ago, yeah.
I came across it, and I think at the time you probably had about 30 followers, if that.
That's right.
And the way I came across it was I was after the verdict came out.
Yes.
I was looking for. I'll probably just put into like YouTube like Lucy Letby innocent, and was looking for people with similar interests.
Yes.
And there was only really like yourself that was doing it. And it was sort of this one view that someone shared the same thing for me, and it really helped.
Oh, I'm
The
really
whole
glad.
year, really.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, in terms of YouTube terms, I wasn't aware of anybody else, but there was Science on Trial was obviously doing work, but they did eventually do some infographic type videos, which are very good, but early on they hadn't moved into the sort of YouTube arena at that point. No.
So, sorry, Mark. Do you want to kick me off for a sec? Because I need to put headphones on because I'm getting feedback, and I'll come back. Right?
I'll do that just for a sec. Cheers. Thank you, Mervyn. That's really great. And anybody else? I think you can have, like, on this free plan that I've got, because I'm too cheap to buy any StreamYard thing, because nobody's buying me any coffees. Nobody's buying me any coffees, and I'm just joking. I'm not available to be bought coffees for. It's just a joke, and I'm not against it in principle at all, because I watch videos all the time for channels that have got that kind of thing, and it's up to the individual, and people should be able to support content makers, and that channel is fine. It's perfectly within their rights to do that. It's just a bit of a piss take because as far as I see them, they're kind of a bit of a knob, but anyway, but they probably think I'm a knob, so it's all fair, isn't it? Anyway, and I don't know if you're okay to come back. Is that all right, Mervyn?
Yeah, good. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, perfect. You're very, very clear, actually, and it's
Excellent.
good. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, you too, Mark. Yeah. I've been a fan for a while.
Oh gosh, it's strange, because I started. I didn't have a channel doing anything other than putting up little videos about some plants I planted.
Yeah, and I especially liked the ones about a year ago where I think you were just sitting in your churchyard, contemplating, what. I mean, the name of your channel, even Hope is the Thing.
Hope is the Thing. It's a line from an Emily Dickinson poem. It's a short poem. It's Hope is the Thing with feathers is the full line.
But it's even that seemed apt. So there weren't many people talking out about it.
No.
Yeah, there was yourself. There was an ex-MP called David Curtin.
He's great. Yeah, he was. Yeah.
Yeah, they missed out not voting him in again. I think he was an independent this year.
Well, he's got a party called the Heritage Party.
That's right. Yeah.
They weren't standing where I live, otherwise I would have voted.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
And there was another old guy called History Debunked. I found who talked about it.
He did.
But he just done a 5-minute video and sort of that was that, and he didn't. He said the truth. That was that. And he sort of moved on. Didn't really care.
And he covers so many things, doesn't he? History Debunked. I do.
Yeah.
I've started watching his videos again. Can I ask you something, Mervyn, in terms of your feeling that made you kind of gravitate towards, well, whether it was a feeling or how you'd analysed it? How did it come to you, this idea, kind of moving against the current, as it were?
Yeah, sure. So basically, I was, before I got into the Letby podcasts, I was listening to, I think, the Alex Murdo murders in the American one. It was quite a big one.
Yes,
and,
I'm familiar with it.
Yeah. And basically, when they're talking about it, that there was a little bit at the end of, is he going to be guilty or not guilty when the trial came.
Yeah.
But I have to tell you, like, the amount of evidence that there was against him was unbelievable. It was like,
right.
I was pretty sure he was guilty. And then after that, I think it just got recommended, the infamous Daily Mail podcast. And I'm listening to it, and then Caroline and Liz summing up. But there was some. They were basically doing a crime scene to courtroom sort of vibe where they're saying, "Oh, next you're going to hear some disturbing evidence."
Yes.
So it's like it's sort of pre-prepped you.
It is emotionally. You're teeing it up emotionally.
Yeah, and yeah, and then I'm waiting, and it just it doesn't happen, and I'm sort of I had to keep checking to, like, when the verdict came up, when it was time to, when the jury were deliberating and things. I thought, have I missed some episodes? Like, where's the evidence?
Yes,
I had to go back and look at the podcast and think, what's going on? What have I missed? I haven't heard any evidence yet.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
And I was talking to my family about it. I was sort of bragging, saying, "Yeah, I know about this case. Yeah, I know about it. There's no way they're going to say guilty because
yeah.
And then when I read guilty, I was a little bit shocked, and I sort of tried to forget about it. After a couple of days, I started like just messaging my sister and things, and because my sister's a nurse as well.
Oh right, gosh, yeah.
And well, yeah, this is the other thing. I was saying, to be a nurse, you do need a specific type of personality, and the two things just don't. I mean, I definitely couldn't be a nurse.
I'm not sure I could either. I don't. I mean, I've done little bits of sort of care things, but not the nursing necessarily, with a lot of the physical stuff. There's so many nurses involved in the chat here today. There's Jenny here, who was a neonatal nurse in the chat here, who also goes by the name of Jar, and she's got so much experience, particularly in neonatal nursing. So
I was actually thinking, well, can I ask you a question, Mark?
Yeah, please. Anything you want. Yeah.
Have you ever been falsely accused of anything?
I have. I was falsely accused of shoplifting once, of nicking a bottle of Alco Pops once.
Right.
And I was also falsely accused of breaking into somebody's. I'm not sure I should be saying this, but anyway, I was also falsely accused of. I worked for this company, like an electric company, supplying electricity, and there was a break-in overnight, and all these computers were nicked, and somebody said that I was responsible for that. And then the police came round and they searched the property, and there was nothing there because I wasn't anything to do with it. And then I got sacked. It was a temporary position, but it was a very chilling sort of thing. And this is a long time ago. Yeah, sorry, go ahead, please.
No, the reason I was asking is I was trying to figure out, why it was that I thought this way, why I thought she was innocent, and other people didn't. And I was listening to Cole Perkins as well, and I think he had mentioned he had been falsely accused.
I hadn't heard that. I hadn't heard Cole.
Yeah, just about beating up his wife or something.
Oh gosh,
he mentioned it a couple of times.
Oh dear, yeah. It'd be awful to be false.
So I was thinking, is it because we've maybe been on the other side of it, perhaps?
Yes, I mean it could be. I mean, there's also a response. I mean, without going into details, there's a lot going in my personal life at the moment, which is related to harassment and bullying and stuff like that, which I'm trying to deal with the police. And I think hearing about the verdict coming when it did, it kind of chimed and it meshed in with that. And I think what I've felt right from the very beginning is that this is a workplace bullying thing gone stratospheric, out of control. I don't think those doctors, that I've said it ad infinitum, but I don't think they ever would have expected it to end up like this.
No.
Be honest, at the beginning,
And I saw your reaction to Back to the Science.
Oh, back to the yeah. Well, that was bizarre. Back to. I mean, I knew of her through, and I don't.
Same.
Yeah, you know.
Same. I'd seen her from reacting to something of Dr. John Campbell's, and I sort of disagreed with her.
Oh gosh, it's a whole rabbit hole of it. Well, it's a huge rabbit hole of itself. That
actually, I did sort of wonder. I thought, I wonder what would happen if she happened to come across this case and what she would think about it, and how if she would call out the she's always using the word bollocks. I don't know if I'm allowed to use that here, but
yeah,
she's always,
as far as I'm concerned, anything you fucking want. I don't mind.
She's always calling out bollocks, and I just thought, I thought she would have a field day looking at the prosecution, and it's a bit of a shame that she's taken the other stance. But I think she's only taken the other side because she's got a personal disagreement with some of the doctors that are dealing with the defence. Because
really,
she mentioned it. If you manage to grit down and actually watch her whole video, she mentioned that this doctor and that doctor were involved in something to do with some sort of paper about vaccines. And
I think they may be referring to specifically, because this is an interesting kind of, well, I say sidebar, but at the time it was it still is important. I think they're talking about Professor Fenton, Professor Norman Fenton, and Dr. Scott McLachlan, because they were both due to be on the Channel 5 documentary about Lucy Letby, but they were dropped at the last minute, ostensibly, overtly, for the reasons of their views on other matters, shall we say,
right, okay,
that weren't deemed sort of politic to have them on the program. So there's all that kind of chill factor coming in as well.
But yeah, I mean, like I say, it's a bit of a shame that she took that stance. I think if she looked a bit further into it, she might think the other way, but maybe not. But I did see. Did you see someone's comment that said, "Are you John in drag?" or something?
I did.
From Crimes into Courtroom.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
that
was fantastic. Yeah, are you John in drag? Well, have we ever seen them both in the same room?
No, yeah.
So it's possible that he's a brother from another mother or something, as the phrase goes, or whatever. But I shouldn't drink and do these lives. But anyway, I found her absolutely bizarre, and weirdly with John on Crime Scene to Courtroom, before the verdicts came in, he wasn't saying anything about guilt or innocence. He was simply reporting.
Yeah, I mean, I'd looked at some of his comments and things back then as well, and he was. I think you could sort of tell that he was leaning on the guilty side, but now he's gone over the top now.
He's gone to the dark side now, for sure, and he can't come back. I don't think, after all the cemetery stuff. I mean, maybe I'd flogged that.
Yeah, I saw that, and I was like, I couldn't believe it. And the thing with the owls on the wall.
Oh, God, the owls on the wall. Oh.
I mean, Lucy probably drew the owls on the wall in the nursery.
Yeah, it's just crazy. I'm just going to click on a few comments that are coming up, where the chat, and I'm going to put. If I can just hold it there, I'm just going to put the old invite in again, so we can have, if anybody else wants to come in as well to join Mervyn and myself. That's the invite there, folks. If that's what. Yeah.
Yeah. One thing about the crime scene to courtroom, when you're listening to the testimony, they get, a lot of them are having a little dig at Lucy for, as they call it, tying herself in knots. It's almost as if they're trying to pin her down to find a gap, a 10-minute gap where she could have performed these murders, where she said she was once one place, but actually, that was half an hour later or something. And they're trying to find a gap for her to have done this, when
yes.
I think they're sort of not realizing that because she worked there, and well, the time that the murders occurred, I'm sure it wouldn't have been the first time she would have been alone with these babies.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there would have been periods of time, and
Yeah, she'd have been alone with them all night, and then the next night they'd be fine and things.
And it's just the fact that when it's happening at the time, she's not committing it all to memory, who's where, when,
No.
because the situation hasn't developed into what it becomes. And I just watched, according to Carl in the UK's video, in which he makes the point, which is just important to remind us that it's basically, she at the trial, she's remembering back like 8 years. She's trying to remember like 8 years about whether she was in a certain room with a certain baby doing a certain operation. And that's a massive task, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I've made a couple of videos talking about it myself, and I did mention.
Oh, right.
I did mention that. Just going to plug it. No, I did mention that.
What's your channel then? Is it am I subscribed to your channel? I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, I don't really. I just, to be honest, I just uploaded them just as like a thought exercise. I haven't shared them with anyone. If that
do you do videos on other subjects as well, Mervyn?
No, I mean, it's just for like gaming and stuff.
Oh, right. Yeah,
that's things for my little gaming community. But I lost my trail of thought there.
Sorry, yeah, I interrupted you. Sorry.
That's all right. But yeah, quite the crime scene to courtroom. He's gone. Yeah, I mean, he can't help but interject his silly little opinions sometimes, and even the way that when he reads the transcripts, right, the way he reads when Lucy's talking, he makes her sound like Vicky Pollard or something, like,
yes,
no.
Oh, it's awful. But I just want to ask the question of yourself, Mervyn, and everyone that's listening and in the chat, and anyone watching or listening, is that why is he doing it at all? If they believe in her guilt and they've got these 15 full life tariffs, why is he bothering to read through a transcript of a trial at all? What's the motivation to do it even? What can be gained once they've already decided that she's guilty? I don't know what the game plan is.
And it's as if he's presenting the way he talks, like there's loads of he says there's loads of misinformation out there, and here's the real truth, as if what he's going to read is going to be in some way incriminating, when actually we've heard it and it's just nothing.
Yeah, it is. It's just reiterations and rehash stuff of old ideas. But he's not in what he's not doing, and people who do comment over there, he's not engaging with the arguments that have been brought to bear. Really,
well, I got banned from there straight away just for expressing doubt in the verdict, and so I'm really? Sure I'm not the only. Yeah, I'm sure I'm not the only one that can't comment on there anymore. I think not from John, but it wouldn't have been from John, but it would have been from his mods early on.
The moderators. Oh my God, they're vicious, are they? Because I've never. I mean, yeah. Oh my God.
I mean, I only put the odd comment just trying to add a bit of info.
Yes, absolutely. I'm just keeping an eye on the chat thing now, but it's just I think it's like a branding almost. His channel now has decided, well, he's decided that that's the story. But again, as people are saying here, money from channel, it's an earner. It's an earner for him fundamentally, and the idea of him reversing now, I think it would seem to him, he's got so many people behind him saying, "Oh, you're doing amazingly, John. Thank you. It's great. It's great." If he'd done some kind of 180 now,
I just can't wait for the egg to be put on his face.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be interesting to know what he actually does. I mean, once Lucy Letby is exonerated, I do feel, I don't know how you feel, Mervyn, I think it's a case of when rather than if.
Yeah, very, very soon. Yeah,
because it's built, so the momentum has built exponentially in these last 6 months, really. Well, actually, ever since, I think a real fault line or node point was the New Yorker article. I don't know if you'd agree with that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was banned over here, but I did obviously get around that and send it to friends and things.
Yes, absolutely. And you know, we I can't remember who I was talking about it with, and the idea that well, Sarita Adams. I'm not sure where she is on things at the moment. I think she felt quite stung by her involvement with it, as to how it affected her business and her life. And similar to with Richard Gill, you know, she was kind of monstered in a way by Cheshire Police and threatened with contempt of court when they tried to help during the trial before the verdicts were even brought in.
Mm.
Because I mean, you know, they actually sent, even though one's in America, one's in Holland, the long arm of the law still reached them with letters from Cheshire Police on them.
Right, right. Yeah, I didn't know about that.
Yeah, it's extraordinary. On Richard Gill's own on his website, he does a video. Well, he does an article about that.
Well, going back to when the verdict was read out, you know, I almost sort of forgot about, obviously because I don't know Lucy or anything, and it's just you know, it's just another stranger or whatever, and I disagreed with it. Okay, but it was one, I couldn't sleep properly, and then two, just all the news reports of you know, the demonizing and everything just going on, and I just thought, come on, this ain't right.
Do you know the way you just said that there? That was my feeling. And Jonathan's here. I'm going to add Jonathan to the stage now. Jonathan Moore. Hi there, Jonathan. I felt exactly the same way as you described there, Mervyn. This isn't right. That was the gut feeling, actually, and then it's all the learning curve since then. Well, welcome, Jonathan Moore, to this stream, which is kind of an impromptu thing.
Hello, Jonathan.
Hello.
I don't think we can hear him yet.
Is your microphone connected there, Jonathan?
No.
Oh, yeah, no, I don't think we can't hear you at the moment. Oh, we get the old headphones. That's brilliant. So this is Jonathan. That is the he is a professional medical witness.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Yes, who appeared on previous streams that I've done. Oh, a couple of them. See how this goes now. So, hello, Jonathan. We can see you, but we're having difficulty hearing you at the moment. I don't know if it's the old technical problems, isn't it?
Oh well.
Yeah.
No, we can't hear you yet.
We can't hear you yet, but hopefully that'll be. Yeah.
I noticed the other day I was going to do a sort of joke video, Mark. You put a link to the Operation Hummingbird that are looking for another another person, and I was having a read, and it said, I've got it in front of me now. It said the operation's due to go on for another 3 years. Something. And I was going to do a sort of spoof video where I apply for the job, and I was going to write things like, you know, willing to find patterns where none exist.
Yes, all the
things like that.
You know, looking for bad bugs in the water, even though you're not given any directions for that. You know, so I'm just thinking about Jonathan there as well. And Jonathan, can you hear us? Can you hear Mervyn and myself speaking? Oh, we can't hear you, but I think you may be able to hear us. I'm not sure. Is Jonathan writing anything in the chat there? Unfortunately, it's the old vagaries of technology, isn't it? So, yeah, unfortunately, we can't hear you, Jonathan, which is a real pity. It would be good to have a 3-way thing or a 4-way thing, or 5. I think you can have 6 people at once in here.
Well, until we can hear Jonathan, I'll take a.
Please.
When he comes on, but
not at all. I'm not saying it for that reason. I think it'd be great if we could have it as a 3 or 4-way or whatever it is.
Yeah. So so on my little channel, I just made a couple of little videos, and I made one you might be interested in, Mark. It was talking about
Yes,
the actual sentencing. I can hear. Oh, we can hear you now.
we can hear you now. We can hear you now, Jonathan. Look, we'll just finish off what
Yeah.
Mervyn was saying there.
So yeah, about the sentencing.
Yeah,
I mean it doesn't matter because you know, she shouldn't have got sentenced in the first place. But
courtroom, crime scene to courtroom videos, they're absolutely brilliant.
yeah. I think there might be a bit of a lag thing going on again. I don't know. It might be that Jonathan's got the lag on what he is hearing elsewhere. So sorry, Mervyn, you're saying you've done this video about
about the sentencing.
Yes, sentencing, right?
So there was a case around about the time of Lucy Letby's called with Carla Foster, who had killed her own 8-month-old baby by she had lied to doctors online or something about how pregnant she was, and took abortion pills, and had killed her own baby.
That rings a bell, yeah.
And she lied to the police when they were interviewing her, and then she only confessed after they had provided her with evidence. So she was I think it was 32 to 34 weeks pregnant, and
Right.
she definitely did kill her own baby by taking these abortion pills.
Right.
And the judge sentenced her to something like 3 years in prison. And it actually ended up there was some public outrage about it, and it turned into a suspended sentence. But I was looking into, well, hold on a second, because the gestation periods of the babies that Lucy was dealing with was actually less than, or in some cases less than, the 32 to 34 weeks. So sorry to be a bit morbid here, but
no, it's all relevant, I think. Yeah.
And yet she was given for each baby, she was given a life sentence for attempted murder, so not even actual murder.
That's right, isn't it? Yes, that's true.
And so Lucy was sentenced under murder, whereas this other woman was sentenced under the Abortion Act.
Yes.
So, but the gestation periods, I mean, Lucy's was actually, you know, they were younger, and I thought there was some injustice there. I mean, obviously she shouldn't have been sentenced at all. I'm not saying. I mean, obviously, if she did murder them, then that's fine. But there was, for me, there was some. You know, I was annoyed that what I was annoyed about was the public outrage that came for Carla Foster getting 3 years in prison, and then it turned. You know, there was public outrage, and it turned into a suspended sentence. And I'm thinking, where's the public outrage about this Lucy thing?
Yes, it brings up so many other kind of very difficult issues, and very I don't know how to describe it. There are other moral issues involved there that can bring into play in terms of like a 25-week-old baby, 25-week gestation baby, vis-a-vis abortion, actually, as well.
And I was mentioning, like, you know, if it was a couple more weeks earlier, well, I don't really. She shouldn't have been sentenced anyway. I mean, she was completely innocent. But it was just a little side rant I went on.
No, that's really interesting. Is there a way? Could you let us know what your channel is, and I'll type it in the chat box. Is that all right?
I don't know. I'll put a comment on your.
Oh yeah, if you put a comment, because I'd like to see the videos you're talking about. And
okay.
I don't know whether Jonathan is. I don't know if there's a lag still going on, because we had this technical issue before. There's a bit of a lag. And if anybody else wants to join in the chat as well, I'll put the link in as well there to join Mervyn, Jonathan, and myself.
I'm afraid there is a lag.
It's
I'm afraid
yeah.
I can hear.
Yes, there's that lag. We've got the same issue, I think, Jonathan, as before. I'm not sure what we can do with that, other than I think what we tried before, Mervyn. I don't think you maybe didn't see it, but we tried saying just if Jonathan, if you'd like to say something about where you're at with it, and we kind of sat back and sort of listened to your viewpoint, as opposed to making it a conversation because of this lag.
Can I give my understanding of crime scene to courtroom, because I've listened to them for many months and I have a fairly good understanding of what the guy's all about. Basically, he's the guy he's got no legal qualifications whatsoever. He wanted to get into YouTube, and he decided that he would all this very long court case, and decided he would attend as often as he could, and obviously it's been very successful for him. I've tried to email him, but he's never replied to me. At the beginning, I was quite encouraging. I said, "Well done, you're doing a good job here, doing all these transcripts." But when it became obvious after the verdict of the trial that he was totally pro the prosecution and had no understanding of what Lucy Letby's perspective was, what his big what his big mistake is to take at face value all the prosecution evidence, and he doesn't seem to have in any way tried to even consider that Dewey Evans and Sandy Bowen are complete frauds. They're complete hired guns. I mean, basically, Dewey Evans just came into this because he wanted to, and he invited himself in. And it's an absolute travesty to be the lead prosecution expert, the lead prosecution investigator, and then when it comes to the trial, to be the independent expert witness, because that just isn't how it works.
Yes.
Now, Dewey Evans has been actually challenged on this, and he just says, "Well, that's the way it works in the criminal prosecution service. I work in the civil courts, and it could not possibly be that way. We just wouldn't be allowed to do that." And I think it has to be looked at because it's not possible for somebody to be an investigator of a case, and then when it comes to trial, that you become the independent expert of the prosecution.
Absolutely. I'm just seeing if I was muted there. No, absolutely agree with that. Did you notice? I suppose you must. Anybody who's listened to the David Davis speech about what he said about Dr. Bowen as well, about 8 families concerned with Dr. Bowen's practice?
Yes, that's very interesting indeed. I hadn't realised Sandy Bowen was. So she has 8 counts against her at the General Medical Council. That's absolutely appalling. I mean, how can you be an expert witness in the biggest criminal trial in the history of this country with 8 GMC prosecutions against you?
Well, absolutely indeed. What do you think about that, Mervyn? About that?
Well, I don't think we really need to attack the credibility of the other side. I think you just need to attack their prosecution case. I don't think even matters about their credibility. I don't think we even need to go down that route.
Right. No, that's an interesting point, because it's like it's a case of what they're saying rather than who's saying it.
Than who's saying it. Yeah,
quality of their arguments. I suppose it does sort of land. It did land quite strongly that David Davis chose to do that. He was obviously doing it for a reason, to put it out there. Similarly, Evans's background about a judge saying his evidence in a previous trial was deemed worthless, which unfortunately didn't get him disbarred from his role in the Lucy Letby trial. But they attempted to do that, didn't they?
For me personally, I'm one of the guys who goes down the fault of blaming the jury. Actually, I know I'm in a minority here, but I'm not happy with the jury, because when I was following the case, even before all of this extra stuff's come out, debunking the spreadsheet and disputing this, disputing about the insulin. Even before all of that, when it came to the verdict, if I was on the jury, there was no way I was going to say guilty. So I actually, and this is something that not a lot of people actually like to mention, but I'm of the case that I'm blaming the jury.
Yes, I mean, how do you feel about that, Jonathan? The
I
jury.
find it very difficult to blame the jury. I really do. I really do feel that it's that you shouldn't blame the jury. I feel
Right.
Sorry, Jonathan.
because I think it is. I think the judge is to blame to some degree, because I think first thing, Justice Jackson gave this warning. He actually personally contacted the judge to say that Julie Evans was completely unreliable. And in that case, that should have been taken very, very seriously. And the fact that he didn't take it seriously, and I think that probably Lucy Letby's team thought that this was so important that they would throw it out. And the fact that he didn't is very serious. I think also the summing up for the jury is very important, because they are completely reliant on the wisdom of the judge to give them as much proper evidence and
directions and guidance, isn't it? Really,
they do need to be directed. They are members of the general public. They're not used to this court, and it was intimidating for me to be involved. Therefore, for a jury who have no medical background at all to be actually faced with all this information, unless they've got a strong judge who really does give them clear and good direction. But when it came to the Dewey Evans evidence, what Judge Goss's reaction to that was, well, it's up to the jury to decide whether or not they think that Dewey Evans is good representation. And that's not right, because how can a jury decide whether an expert witness is credible or not? So to put credibility to the jury when it should have been the judge who made that decision and gave suitable advice, I think that's incredible.
No, I take all those points. I think they're very strong points, and really, I think it had just Judge Goss listened to the advice from the other judge about Dewey Evans's reliability, as it were, based on his previous performances, it would have been game over then, wouldn't it? Because there's no prosecution case then, essentially.
Well, I think that's one of the reasons why why I don't think her expert came into the fray, because it's always it's always a huge risk to have somebody like to have a. Sorry, I'm getting a back here.
That's okay. Well, I'll just stay quiet while it's moving through. If there's a lag.
Yeah. So Professor Michael Hall was an outstanding and excellent expert witness, and I think that probably that Lucy Letby's team felt that actually there was no need for him to, because the evidence from Dewey Evans and Dr. Owen was not credible enough, and therefore they didn't need to use him. And obviously that.
I don't want to cut across you, so yeah, I'm just waiting to.
I've been in situations myself where, and I gave you an example the last time I was on, where I was up against an extremely impressive and extremely strong expert in the case that I was involved. And in fact, his evidence was so good that I was able to use his evidence, which actually then my side of the case stronger. In fact, we didn't have a court that we actually settled the case on the basis of his evidence that I used to support my case. This can happen, and of course, in a criminal case, this can be even more serious. So that was probably the reason why Michael Hall didn't ever get caught, because they took the judgment that probably Dewey Evans and Dr. Owen were not going to be credible enough in any case. And I think that
It's coming in and out a little bit with the audio aspect, but I think the chat we're getting most of it. And Mervyn's back now. But you're saying there that there was a rationale not to call it's Michael Hall, isn't it? Michael Hall.
Yeah.
It's a risk, though, isn't it? It was a risk not to call him at all, because from the perspective of the jury, because the jury are simply seeing nothing against the plumber. The plumber's a professional witness, but they're not seeing. They're seeing a disparity there, aren't they? The jury are.
Yeah.
Yes. How do you feel about that, Mervyn, with regard to Professor Hall, the lack of calling that the defence's own expert neonatology witness?
I was actually of the opinion that I'd have been happy as part of the defence to say basically there's no case to answer, and not even give any sort of defence at all. Because I mean think about it. The prosecution failed to produce any evidence because there was no evidence. So everyone seems to be slagging off the defence for not calling this person, not calling that person, but it's not up to them. Obviously, that it's not up to them to prove them innocent, and I really think there was almost a case of don't really need to. They don't. I don't think they felt the need to.
Yes, I mean, I don't know how to get into their heads, like Ben Myers and the solicitor. But do you think en route they were thinking, "Oh, this is going well," then, and then are they surprised by the verdict, or do they think it's a fait accompli? We know she's innocent, but we can't beat them. We can't beat them anyway.
I think that the verdict would probably have been just as much of a shock to them as to everyone else.
Right. I mean, I don't know what the general public thought, and I don't know. Well, Jonathan, were you surprised by the guilty verdict at the point you heard it, or?
Yeah, when I very first came in, when I very first heard about the case, I just couldn't see that they could possibly take 14 consecutive cases, and that there would be they could find, particularly as it was all circumstantial evidence. So
Yes.
I just thought it just can't.
I don't know how it got to trial.
Out of course, it's got to be the criminal, and to get to the criminal position that you've got to be.
Yes, I think we've got most of that. The audio's coming out a little bit. I don't know. Is there a?
Yeah, it's cutting out a little.
I don't know if there's any other kind of microphone that you've got available, because it would be great to hear everything you're saying there, but we're missing some of it. But we're getting the gist of it.
I don't know how it got to. That's one of the things that
heard Dewey Evans on the Radio Wales interview that he did after the David Davis.
Yes.
Phenomenal. He is in complete denial.
Oh,
Stuff he said was literally completely wrong. I mean, he was saying things which are quite simply extraordinary.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Yes, I mean, he's painted himself into such a corner now that he's sounding more desperate and ridiculous. And the most recent Guardian article by Felicity Lawrence, a beautifully constructed article which ends on the line from Evans, which says she's guilty of this murder. Get it through your head, and that's the level that Evans is operating on now.
Yeah, I've got a question. How much of his involvement? See, I thought being coming up with the theory of how the babies had died, I would have thought that would be his job. How much of his job was pointing towards who actually done it? Surely that's not in his remit. Surely his only thing was to find the method of death.
Right.
Yes, absolutely. So, which I always feel folds back into the idea of pre-knowledge of who they had in the frame, and pre-knowledge of what those doctors were talking about, which we know was extended beyond the Countess of Chester, because we've got Breary on record saying that he's been talking to those other level 3 units in that neonatal network about their problem, and their problem being those deaths and a nurse that they're trying to get off the unit. And that's happening throughout 2015 and 2016. So it's spreading out beyond the hospital as it's happening.
I've just read someone in the chat said, why did the defence agree there had been insulin poisonings? This probably lost the whole case. And I sort of actually have to agree with that. And
thank you. I've just seen that as well. The defence agreed that there was this insulin poisoning. I must admit that was extremely compelling at the time, and it was probably the strongest evidence. And I believe it was what the jury most convinced the jury. And of course, poor Lucy Letby was forced to admit that insulin had been administered. When now we've got such strong evidence that either no insulin was ever administered. But
when they're
strangest things is that the levels that were in the blood were so high that it would have been impossible at that sort of level. They would have got a fatal hypoglycemia, and the baby would have died. And in fact, the baby survived and was not particularly badly affected. The other thing is the amount of the baby would have been enormous. And again, there's an expert from New Zealand who has given a lot of very good evidence on that. So I think the defence were very, very well. It was a very poor decision to agree that Lucy Letby admit that somebody or anybody had administered insulin when retrospectively there is no evidence whatsoever of this.
Yes.
Well, when they're questioning Lucy on this, in a way, she's like a member of the jury. She's been presented with some evidence of a poisoned insulin bag. She knows she didn't do it. So all she can say is, it wasn't me. And when they say, she probably knows that she probably thinks no one else done it, but she's being told herself by the prosecution this has been poisoned. She's taking their word for it.
Yes, she's been put into a false position by agreeing that something's happened that she hasn't got the knowledge to agree to, actually, and then they've just run with that as though it's a fait accompli, really, that there are ever thereafter. And then apparently the defence have acknowledged that somebody tampered with them, but I thought they made tentative. They made tentative kind of parries against that idea in some of Myers's cross-examination of people like Anna Milan. In other words, things to do with elements to do with the reliability of the test, and that it can't be retested now because the blood sample's gone, etc. So yeah, I don't know where that leaves it. And I just want to mention here, I don't know if either of you or everyone else in chat is aware, on the channel called Stuart Gillam,
Yeah, I saw
G-I-L.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, he's done a really deep dive on a lot of the insulin aspects, which I thought was fascinating and brilliantly put together video. It came out yesterday, I think it was.
I also like watching a guy called A Liberated Mind.
Yes,
Some of these are
absolutely. Yeah,
brilliant.
I really enjoy his way of looking at things and his approach as well. Liberated mind, absolutely. And there's so many, you know. But it's just oh god, I don't know.
It's strange at the moment. What's doing the round? Things keep coming and going, and for some reason, the statistical evidence is doing the rounds again and getting reintroduced as if it's now valid. Like they sort of go around in circles.
Yes, that's right. There's kind of waves of things coming in terms of like what's cresting in importance, and then it falls back, and there's a new thing. That is what is happening. I'm always stuck on something with regard to the insulin. There's a preparatory event, which is the actual tampering, breaking the seal, or administering the insulin in there. When did it happen? Nobody can tell us when it happened. If you can't say when it happened, who's on duty is not the route to finding out who did it, then, is it? If you don't know when it happened.
And the whole idea of there being different
where did you get the
murder methods.
From? I mean, that's the other thing. There was nothing missing on the ward, and otherwise you would have had to have got it from somewhere.
Absolutely, Jonathan. Yeah. That comes up in Stuart Gillam's video, in which he's talking about this mathematical computation that the mechanical engineer in Australia is doing in order to work out how much insulin coats the inside of the bag, to work out how much insulin needed to have been put into those bags.
But let's not
a lot more than what that was originally thought.
Let's not forget that baby actually survived and was fine. And a lot of the charges are attempted murder. Okay.
Yeah.
If someone's going to try and deliberately kill a preterm baby, it's never going to be an attempt, is it? They're going to do it.
Yeah. Well,
they're so fragile.
Yeah. Exactly. Sorry. Yeah. She was very successful, in quotes, at murdering babies in a very concentrated period, and then she became increasingly less successful, and then suddenly very successful again at the end, and that's the pattern of it.
It's ridiculous.
So she had a modus operandi which was working very, quote, well for her, and also it's just the extraordinary logical stretch we're meant to believe that she's under enormous suspicion, and she does everything she can to stay in the locale where she's most suspected, to the point of like forcing it to an absolute head, so that those consultants say, right, we're going for the police.
Well, let's take it even further. I'm going to commit a murder, but what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go to university and get a debt and study for 4 years, 6 years, or whatever it is. Then I'm going to get a job somewhere and work there for a few years, and do a lot of overtime. And then
pay off.
Yeah, get a mortgage. Yeah, do a lot of overtime, and you know, for the glitz and glamour of being an NHS nurse. And then I'm gonna now then I'm gonna start murdering. But not, I'm not gonna murder all of them. Just some of them.
Yeah, just some of it, and every now and again I'm going to save a baby's life when Gibbs the shit off, and then it's Lucy Letby that realizes it and turns it back on, and fills out a Datix report, presumably about that.
It's so ridiculous.
It stretches credibility, stretches credulity, because it didn't happen. Because it wasn't.
Of course.
Because it didn't happen.
Of course it didn't. Everyone knows it didn't.
It's just it can't sustain Does anybody else in the chat wish to come on and join us to make up a 4? Nobody has to, no pressure, of course, but just another invitation. I'm going to put another link in the chat as well. But I think it's all going really well. How do you feel about that, Jonathan, in terms of the credulity aspect of it, about it making logical sense as a would-be or actual serial killer?
Well, what most serial killers do is that they have a particular mode of killing that they do over and over again. Isn't it incredible that she sometimes pumped too much milk into the stomach, sometimes she put air in to cause an air endless, or she just decided one day that I'll just do insulin poisoning. That'll be my mode today. That's
Yes,
how serial killers work.
I agree.
The other thing is that you would have to. It's the time. It would take time to do all these things. I mean, let's say that she severely smashed up the liver of one of the babies to the extent that it was like a car accident. How on earth would you do that? You'd have to take them out of the incubator. You'd have to smash them up and put them back in. And then nobody actually sort of detects this. I mean, it's quite extraordinary.
It's just not realistic, and that's why it's so alarming that this whole system can push this through and allow it to happen without it being. It's like a juggernaut that you just can't stop once it gets moving. And behind it, I think, I don't know if it was in the chat today or in another video I saw, it's the fact that it's about status, the idea that, well, the doctors have got to be believed. This individual group of doctors have to be believed. You know.
And as an expert witness, I'm always trying to be very, very level, because I always try and put myself in the situation of both sides, and that's what you've got to do as an expert witness. You should never. I mean, if you ever saying she definitely killed, there's 100% that she has killed these babies, as an expert witness, that is completely wrong. That is not what you're to do that. So,
yes, absolutely, and even more so, his very. I think it was in the Guardian article, or maybe a Telegraph one, where they ask somebody who is another expert witness or affiliated to some organisation to do with expert witnesses, to say Evans's attitude to say that, oh well, I've won 40 out of 40, but I've lost 40 out of 41, lost one, and that rankles with me.
Ridiculous.
That one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And somebody said to him about that. They kind of, it's bizarre, is it?
That he's lost one is just absolutely, completely unacceptable.
It is, and he sort of justified it by saying, well, you know, if you're not really committed in this game, you'll soon be found out. There's some phrase like that. He said, you'll soon be found out if you're not somebody that's not committed to this. Or he's got a completely wrong idea about what an expert witness is, isn't he? Really, or should be, you know. It's yeah. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
You've simply got to. I mean, I had a case where I did once, and it was. Well, I won't tell you all the details, but we got to a point where something came up, clearly showed that my point of view was not right. So immediately I put my hand up and said, yes, I can see that you are correct, I'm not correct. And the case settled as it should do. So if there are things that you discover in the course of being an expert witness, and your other expert has identified these and you haven't, you've got to be honest. And you're not doing your job if you fight on to try and prove your point of view, even when it's basically wrong, which is what Dewey Evans has been doing from the start in this.
I don't know. I think it's quite difficult because anybody who says that they are completely impartial on anything is not telling the truth. I mean, everyone has got their opinion. So someone, no matter who the expert is, they will still have an opinion as to whether or not someone's guilty or not guilty. In a way, Evans has just been publicly expressing it, but I don't think really deep down anyone is ever impartial, are they?
How do you feel about that, Jonathan, with your role as is it that it's that Evans won't be moved by any argument? That's what I see it as, and other people have said he's not moved by any argument, and he moves the goalposts, and he says, to the extent that he says, we'll just have to change the mode of murder.
Interestingly, I believe that Evans and Hall had a meeting of experts, and we never saw the transcripts from that, because if they do have a meeting of experts, that should be available to the court. So if the two experts did
Sorry, please go ahead. Yes.
So in civil cases, before we get to court, and I very rarely get to court because we usually manage to sort things out before we get to court, but I will have a meeting with the other expert on the other side, and the barristers will draft key questions for both of us. And if essentially, the most important part of a case before it gets to court is seeing the transcript of the meeting of experts who are being asked the questions in the case. Now, I don't know about criminals, but I would think that in criminal cases, it's the same, in that they will be asked difficult questions, and the replies of each expert will be scrutinised at least by the judge, but should be available to the jury. But I'm afraid I don't know that, because I don't do criminal cases.
Yes, I'm just remembering something that Evans is alleged to have said, or he did say, that he went to see the report or he had sight of the report that Michael Hall had written. Professor Michael Hall had written. He goes back to the prosecution team and says to them, "Don't worry, they're not going to call him." So that's not the same as this kind of idea of a meeting, is it? I don't think. It's almost like he's had sight of what they may bring or may not bring, and Evans feels certain that for whatever set of reasons, the defence aren't going to use Professor Hall. But why that is, we're not privy to so far, I don't think. It's a bit of a lag, I think. So I think.
Well, I heard somewhere that definitely they had a meeting, and and if you have a meeting in this, you do have to you have to publish. Well, you have to commit to making available your views, and this is to assist the court. And I don't know what happened with that.
So can I just ask you a bit further about that, Jonathan? If the two experts have a meeting, are they kind of in camera just themselves, and then they go back to their respective sides, as it were, to report back? Is that how it works?
I'll tell you exactly how it works. What happens is, before court, the barristers will identify the key points in the case. All right. And then what happens then is that each side's barristers will draft questions for the experts. So we will get a set of questions, some of which are by the prosecution, some by the defence, and we will have a meeting where, completely private, nobody is there, no solicitors are there, no lawyers are there, it's just the two experts. And then what we then have to do is to draft minutes of our meeting, right? So we answer the questions, and it goes backwards and forwards between the two experts, and we have to make sure we're completely happy with the answers that we've given to each of the questions. So much so that often it can go back 7, 8, 9, 10 times sometimes, and we're sort of looking at particular words, particular wordings, and then once we're both happy with the replies, that we sign the document at the bottom, and that this is given as the official minutes of our meetings. And then what is written in those replies is what the court can accept as our opinions.
Because the experts are in reality or ostensibly on different sides, or on a working more for the prosecution or defense, or maybe they shouldn't be, but they're hired by them, or they're connected with them. Is that meeting trying to establish a consensus of opinion, or does it allow for differences of opinion to continue into that report that everyone then sees?
Right, well, that's exactly where it is. What you've got to do is to try and establish what you agree on, so where there is consensus, and what points where there is consensus, and then when there are differences of opinion, you've got to establish what those differences of opinion are and the reasons why each of you could hold your opinion on that particular point. So where there is argument, one side will say, well, I don't agree. So you start by saying, I don't agree, and then one side has got to give their reasons why they don't agree, and the other person's got to give another reason why they don't. So, for example, I did a case very recently on deep vein thrombosis, and this was a lady who had all the risk factors. She was extremely overweight, she was probably diabetic, and somebody who she had very severe leg ulcers, and therefore she was immobile. Now, I said that these were sufficient reasons that you would think she was at high risk of a deep vein thrombosis. Now, the guy on the other side looked at the absolute indications, and they are much more. So they say that the patient has got to have complete immobility, so post-operative, in a plaster cast, total immobility. Now, it's up to the court to decide which opinion they're going to decide to agree with.
So can I just ask? So Dewey Evans was the lead expert witness, was he? I understand there were, is it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 expert witnesses in total? Would they all have had to have agreed with Dewey Evans?
Well, he was the lead expert because he'd been the investigator, as far as I can see. He wasn't a neonatologist, so he couldn't do neonatology, and that's why they got in Sandy Bowen. And then there were other things like histology, and various other of the prosecution experts. Now, what I don't understand is that some of the areas, the defence did not have a counterpart expert. If they did have a counterpart expert, there should have been expert meetings between all of the different counterparts. But if there wasn't, so for example, I don't think they ever had well, they obviously, well, neither side had a statisticians, but if one had so yes, so they would have. So the main reason that Dewey Evans is seen as the lead expert is because his main job was to establish the cause of death of each of the babies and whether or not it was murder. That's why he was seen to be the.
Yes. I don't know if there's anything. Well, do you know, this is extraordinary, this, isn't it? Because back to the idea of Dewey Evans going back to the prosecution team and saying they're not going to call him. Can we infer from that that there was full consensus then, because that's the only reason why you wouldn't call that. If there's nothing in opposition that Peter Hall might have brought, otherwise, what
because in the Panorama interview, Mike Hall made it very, very clear that he didn't agree with Dewey Evans. That's the whole point.
Yes, that's absolutely true. So then we're back on the defence now. We're back to why the defence didn't call him then.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, Professor Mike Hall's letter that he wrote to the newspaper. I forget which newspaper, but he makes it clear that he was surprised that he was not called, and ergo he would have had something to say. He would have had something to say in opposition to what was being said from the array of experts on the prosecution side.
It's further than that. Professor Mike Hall actually wrote a letter to the BMJ and said that he had been called, should have been called.
Yes.
So there does seem to be a lack of communication, because in the Panorama interview, he also says he doesn't know why he wasn't called.
Indeed,
So,
yeah. Indeed, yeah.
strange.
I mean, so what could the defence have possibly been up to by not doing? How might it have been seen to benefit the defence to not call him? I know this is probably replaying something that I know we've kind of moved on now, because we've got there's a new defence team altogether, but nonetheless, it's just odd, isn't it? That sorry.
Everybody says that it was. Everyone says that it was up to Lucy Letby. I can assure you, I've been doing this for 20 years. I don't think that she would have made a decision not to call Mike Hall.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. No, it's bizarre. Bizarre.
And the barrister. That's what they would have been the people that made the decision.
Yes, that they would have. I mean, and this is Lucy Letby, who's been in prison for what, 3 years, 2 or 3 years on remand.
Well, do you know, she's been in prison. It's the 5th Christmas.
It's the 5th Christmas just gone. Absolutely, yeah.
She went into prison in November 2020. So it is actually.
Yes, I agree. What are you going to say, Mervyn, there about that?
Well, one of the arguments that the other side make about why the defence didn't call Michael Hall, they seem to infer that because he was going to somehow further incriminate Lucy. So the fact that they didn't call him, that they say just goes to prove that he was going to be on their side.
Yes, it's this notion that I've heard that as well, Mervyn, and it's the kind of a notion that they're saying that Michael Hall, he would have made a fist of it in a way, but he couldn't categorically say that there was no deliberate harm or something like that. It's something muddy, but then we're never going to know now what he would have said. But a judgment call was made. Presumably, would that be by Myers then? It would be Myers making that judgment call, would it? Or the solicitor, or how does it work? How does it? I know you're doing civil cases, Jonathan, but would it be the barrister or the solicitor makes that judgment call, do you think, in your experience?
Well, it's a bit of both. It is a bit of both, because both sides decide.
Right. Both, but it's it's extremely odd in any event, isn't it? That this is that it ran the way it did. It doesn't make. I watch a lot of trials. I'm watching like rewatching the Jodi Arias trial at the moment, and also this trial in America, the Adelson family. I'm watching, and they've all got. There's a kind of parity between the two sides. That what there isn't is. What there never is, I've ever seen, is like 8 prosecution experts and nobody, no experts rather than professional witnesses on the other side.
The plumber.
Yeah. Sorry, can you say that again, Mervyn? Sorry.
I said they had the plumber. Let's not forget.
Well, yeah, and I think he comes under a category called professional witness, which is absolutely fine and legitimate. But there are no expert witnesses to speak to medical matters or
Mark, I was being facetious.
Oh no, I know, absolutely. No, I know. I got that. I did get it. I didn't want to, just in case the plumber's listening. I didn't want him to. I don't think he is, Mr. Mansuti. But he knew. Mr. Mansuti knew what was going on there, didn't he? Really.
I suppose the other point to make is that it's always a great risk to bring in the defendant because when the defendant is up in court, you're incredibly vulnerable. I mean, whenever I go to court, which is very, very rare, I just accept that I'm going to be made to look a fool by the barristers. I just take that as read because barristers are intellectual thugs. They just stick to a pulse.
Yes.
I think probably Lucy Letby just did. I think she had this notion that because she was a neonatal nurse, that that no barrister was ever going to know as much as she did about neonatal nursing. Now that's a very bad, that's the wrong attitude to take because it is extraordinary that barristers can get up to speed to an incredible level. I mean, I've seen barristers cross-examining world experts on papers of incredible complexity in a way that is so compelling, actually making fools of them about legal and scientific papers that they know everything about. And so I think that Lucy Letby was sort of allowed to be put in a position where she was never going to look good. She was going to look very bad. But it's a totally no-win situation because if she hadn't gone and taken the stand and the plumber was the only witness, that would have looked diabolical. But against against Nicholas Johnson, I mean, Nicholas Johnson is a KC, incredibly experienced, and he was just going to make it look terrible.
Well,
and he didn't ask anything. They spent about. I looked at the transcript. They took about 20 minutes to talk about going commando and about going commando. And poor old Lucy Letby, she was quite an innocent girl. She might not have known what going commando was.
Yes, it's just.
And why should this be relevant at all? What has got nothing to do with whether or not she actually murdered babies.
I think he's been watching my videos.
Well, yes, it's all with the intention to undermine her believability. But I think but just going back to what you said, that I don't know whether Lucy was in a position herself to say, God, I need to get on that. I need to be heard. I think it was kind of, if anything, I would have imagined, I don't know, of course, she would have deferred to the advice, and the advice would be that you've got to, we're going to call you. You know, she could have elected not to be called, couldn't she? She could have elected to say, I'm not going to give any evidence at that trial. I think that's right, isn't it?
Oh yes, she could have elected not to be called. But again, finally, David Davis said in Parliament that he thought that the defence was very poor, and if she hadn't been called, what would she have had? We've had 8 months of all these Dewey Evans, Annie Bowen, all these experts on the prosecution side, and what would she have had? The plumber, and not even hearing from her. I think she probably
exactly. I absolutely take. I totally take that point, because then it would be even more of a disparity in a way. But but her on her own, without any other experts, is like her in a lion's den, essentially. Even though she's ostensibly defended, but you know.
Well, I actually think she had the confidence to say, "Yeah, I'll go on the stand." Reason being, because she knows she didn't do it. So of course you're going to get up there and be. Of course you're going to be confident to answer any question, because you've got the truth on your side. So I think it was a no-brainer for her.
Right. No, that's yeah. And I could imagine myself in. I don't know how she's managed to keep it together at all. I would have been fucking Looney Tunes. I wouldn't have been able to deal with that trial at all. With that kind of horror that's been in. I don't know how she's done it. She must be an incredibly strong person to have kept that kind of dignity going, and then to be ripped to pieces by all these journalists saying, "Oh, you're not looking right. You're not shouting enough. You're not upset enough.
Yeah.
You're not crying enough. You're not emotional enough. You're not crying about the babies right now from 8 years ago. Why aren't you crying about the babies?" You know, it's just
dignified, and people criticise her for being emotionless. And of course, when you're in court, it's your one and only chance. You've got to stay composed, and the best way is to be as emotionless as possible, because in that way, you don't let yourself slip one way or the other way. The other thing is, I've only ever done half a day in the witness box. I've done half a day, and I was absolutely mentally and physically wrecked after it. How she could go through almost 20 full days in the witness box under way more stress than I was ever put under as an expert, because civil cases are worth money, but you're not defending yourself for a whole life sentence. The other thing is, of course, she went home, and again, a friend of mine told me this, is that she would have had no feedback. She would have gone straight down to the cell. She would have gone back into the prison van. She would have had 1.5 hours going back to the prison she was being held on remand in North Yorkshire, and then for the rest of the day, she'd be all alone in her cell. So she had no support whatsoever. I mean, it is just unimaginable to go through that stress. And of course, the other thing is she had to wake up. She had to be up about 5 in the morning to be in the prison van by 7 o'clock, to get to the courtroom by 9:30, to make sure she was there by 10:30 for the trial. So, I mean, the ordeal is absolutely unimaginable.
Well, talking about the personal questions, I mean, the whole idea that they're showing all of your personal text messages to the world, and then the prosecution's asking her about a personal text message that's got nothing to do with the case, about going commando, and the way she answers it is, I think the barrister asks her, what does that mean, going commando? Obviously, she knows what it means, but she answers. She just says, "I don't know," because she doesn't want to answer the question, not because she's lying about anything. It's because it's a personal text message that's got nothing to do with anything. Is how I would answer.
Yes. Oh God, it's like fucking, it's torture what they've done to her. It's like, it's a form of public torture. It's the witch finding period brought back into the 21st century, but with all this fake science around it,
but she gets called a liar for not answering the question of, what does going commando mean? I mean, it's embarrassing. It's just embarrassing question.
Sorry, Mervyn. Yeah, and they also do that as well with the idea of her and Nicholas Johnson. I don't like the guy, but the thing about whether she's wearing pajamas or not, for goodness sake, and whether they are pajamas or not.
Well, Alan climbs into courtroom. Well, the thing about that is the footage that they show. Well, she was actually arrested something like 3 times. So I'm not sure whether or not that footage is the one that they're talking about, her in her pajamas.
Yeah,
and also the whole
2018 arrest. I believe that's the first arrest. I think that's the first arrest.
And also the whole notion that they actually put handcuffs on her is ridiculous. I mean, she had voluntarily gone to the station about 30 times before that to voluntarily answer questions that I certainly wouldn't have done. And I don't know if you've ever. I'll say it. I've been arrested before, and they did not put handcuffs on me. It was theatrical.
Yes, yes, it was. It was performative and theatrical, and it was. That's what a lot of people are beginning to say. Even more and more people are saying there's something about this, that it was meant to be. Once it has started, it's going to happen. Once they'd started that train rolling out of the station, this is where we're getting to. This because once they're on it, they can't roll back from it. They can't say, oh, hold on a minute. No, it's the hospital is responsible for all of these deaths. And this becomes a political matter now in relation to the political football of the NHS now as well. So there's so many aspects to this, really. Anyway, it's just
so what I just want to talk about the psychology, and obviously there was no motive. That's unusual. There's a channel on YouTube called the Behavior Panel, and they're always analyzing body language of killers and things. They have steered clear of Letby, and it's annoyed me no end. And I'm thinking the reason they're steering clear of it because they know. I think they know that there's the body language she gives off is of a normal person, and they can't. They're going to look, they're not going to want to touch it with a 10-foot barge pole by saying, "Sorry, guys, she looks innocent."
Yes, no, that's really interesting, and I was really hoping. There's somebody sent me a comment, but it's to do with Peter Hyatt, the statement analyst from America. I don't know if anybody's aware of him, but he was meant to be doing in conjunction with a group of British statement analysts, a kind of a bit of a deep dive on the notes, the green note, and other notes to do with statements, but hopefully also to do with the short bits of video we've got of the police interviews as well. But I haven't heard anything about that since. But I don't know the green is at this point anyway.
The green note, right? If I was the officer who went into the room to try and find some evidence, I wouldn't have even bagged and tagged it. It was such a nothing burger.
Well, it is, and that's why they used it in this most malicious way, because they had nothing, because they didn't have enough. And it's I think what you just said there is revelatory of that they needed to get everything they possibly could to pile it in to make this horrible poisonous cake, which is their prosecution case. And so they would use everything then, even about, oh, well, you're crying about your cat. You're crying about your cat, but you're not crying about the baby. It's just, it's torture. It's like what you do to, it's like from 400 years ago.
And when the police asked Lucy about it in the police interview, she said, when it says, "I'm evil, I did this," she said, because that's what they're saying about me.
Yeah, it's how they made me feel. It's how they made me feel. That's what it is.
So basically, she's done a grammatical error and not put in quotation marks around it or something. It's like she's told you what it meant. That's what I thought it meant without her even telling me. Then she's told us and confirmed it, because all the other stuff written on the note is "I'm innocent" and everything, which they just brush over.
Yeah. All that, that's inconvenient. Yeah, I've done nothing wrong. I've done nothing wrong. I don't want to hear that.
So I don't understand why they zero in on that of all things. It's nothing.
It's because that they're looking for motive, because they know there's no motive there, and so they need to see something from the individual that they're persecuting to say, well, I'm evil then, and that's my motive. The motive is my evil, and so otherwise they've got nothing. They've got nothing.
I think the problem, the people who are doing the accusing are the people who think that someone is evil and are doing the accusing want to take a look at themselves. I think there's something wrong with themselves to even think that about someone.
Absolutely. Full on projection. So much projection going on here. And when John Sweeney does in the most recent video that he did on his channel, he runs down the Gang of Four and you've got 2 doctors there who are responsible for the deaths of 2 babies. You've got Gibbs, who's left that machine off, and you've got Jayaram, who's focused on his TV career, and there's other issues to do with him with a chest drain, and also allegedly witnessing an attempted murder and leaving it for 13 months. They're a basket case, those 4 people.
But we never really know why it was that Breary singled Lucy out in the first place, do we?
We don't. I've been having thoughts about something starting with baby. I don't know what you think about this as well, Jonathan. With baby Noah in 2014, in relation to Dr. B, because something major's happening there. That hospital's responsible for a doctor killing a baby alongside a doctor she was supervising. Dr. B is, and that's running all the way through 2015 while that inquest is happening. And they're deciding what's happened there.
Yeah, I heard a bit of that. But as you say, there is clear evidence in 2014 of this death being caused by one of the consultants. And, I think this is incredibly sinister. I mean, it is extraordinary if, and the new evidence is that Dr. Breary would have known that he had done he damaged the liver. How can you possibly incriminate one of your nurses when you know that you are responsible? And
it's monstrous.
And this is going to be.
Sorry, it's a lag thing.
So it's complete calm now. Can you just ask any question? Because I can now, for the once, hear you. Thank you.
Sorry. Sorry. Yeah, there was a bit of a lag there, and you were saying about Breary. It's an awful thing that he's well, according to Dr. Taylor, Breary would have been aware, should have been aware, or is aware that he's responsible for the death of Baby O, and Lucy Letby is in prison for the murder of Baby O, while Breary knows that he's responsible, and that's monstrous, isn't it? Really, how does that even work? How does that? How can Breary still be working? Really, no. How does he live with himself?
I mean, I just hope that somehow people can take the courage to actually address him and make him accountable, because and unless what we need is the police to actually take the completely opposite view. We need another constabulary to come in and to look at the Cheshire Constabulary, look at all the evidence, and actually a bit like the London police, where they've so badly criticised that other forces have had to come in and look at the cases against them. And that's what's going to happen in Chester. And the police force, that's really what the common denominator. If the police force actually said there's enough evidence that the Chester Constabulary are not dealing with this properly, we need a fresh set of eyes, and we need people to come in and properly look and see what's been going on.
I agree. What do you feel about that, Mervyn, in terms of the police's role in this?
I think it will just take. I think it will just take too long. I'm hoping that Lucy's defence has got 15 or so. I can't remember if it was 15 or if it was 50 international. 50, yeah, international experts working for free. I'm hoping they'll find the actual causes of deaths, and then that'll be it. I don't think there can be a retrial because there's not enough evidence for a retrial. I hope she just gets exonerated very soon. Not just exonerated, she needs to be compensated by more millions. Obviously, it will come from the taxpayer, but more millions than ever have been paid out before. I think she needs a knighthood. I think she needs Rear of the Year. Everything works.
Yes, yeah, I know what you're saying. She needs It's about a restoration of order. She's a totally innocent person, but put all her heart into doing this career, has been bullied out of it, and then
she needs her nursing qualification to be given back to her because that got stripped. Even though she's not going to go back into nursing, it needs to be given back to her just out of principality.
I 100% agree with that. Everything to honor what she was before they destroyed her. Everything to take her back to that position before. Yeah, that's a brilliant point. Yeah, I mean, and I agree. I don't know how you feel about this, Jonathan. That what Mervyn just said, and I kind of agree with that. I don't think a retrial is on the cards, because which experts are the prosecution going to field for a retrial?
No, I completely agree. A retrial is impossible. Yeah, trial is impossible.
So it has to be a quashing of the verdicts, or it's nothing. It's a quashing of the verdicts, or it's nothing.
Could try and find somebody to rebake all the allegations against her. It's so broad, and I think.
Sorry, Jonathan, go ahead.
So you're never going to find experts of. I mean, it would be the end of an expert's career if they tried to. If they did try and rebake all Dewey Evans's allegations. And I understand that the Chester police have now sort of sacked him, and they're not having anything to do with each other anymore. So they couldn't really. I mean, he's now said he's retired. He's not registered with the GMC. He can't be an expert again. They won't ever be able to find anybody to actually support the case. And of course, they've got all these experts now on the defence side. So, yeah.
I bet Dr. Oliver will work for them.
Dr. Oliver, which one's he again? Sorry.
She, the Australian.
Oh yeah, Dr. Oliver. Yes, yeah, quite possibly. And with John as a backup, as a haematologist.
Yeah, that's
crime scene to courtroom. But no, what you're saying there, Jonathan, is that what were you saying there? There's this strange role there's this reversal now. There's a volte-face full 180% reversal, in which if there was a retrial, you'd have 50 experts on the defence side, and you'd have nobody on the prosecution side. So it's a reversal of what happened before.
A reversal. Be a literal
reversal. It would, and yeah.
Well, it can't.
The situation in the first place is that essentially what happens is that the prosecution gets an expert or two experts or some experts who are willing to come to a 10-month trial. Any good practicing experts are just not going to be able to commit to coming to a trial for 10 months because they work in a neonatal unit. They can't have that amount of time out. So you're only going to have people like Dewey Evans, who'd been retired already for 9 years, or Sandy Bowen, who was a neonatologist, I don't know if she's still practicing, who works on Guernsey. Well, Guernsey is effectively not a neonatologist. All you do is, if you've got a sick baby, you fly them out to a proper unit somewhere in the rest of the UK. I've actually worked in Jersey, and I know exactly how it works. I did a locum of 6 weeks, and if there's a sick baby, they just fly them out. So Sandy Bowen has no experience, really, of being a neonatologist.
Well, yes, and in broad terms, it's an absolute poison chalice for anyone who would consider allying themselves to Operation Hummingbird now. It would be like it's suicide, as you kind of adumbrated there, Jonathan. You know, absolute suicide for yourself, because you're carrying the burden of Evans with you, and that's you're over, finished.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. But it's extraordinary. I mean, Evans is going to go down as like Meadow and Southall to the power of 50. You know, that's what he's going to go down as.
Yeah. I mean, it will be another Southall situation.
Yes, he will be. He's topped them. It's like, you know, Southall Meadow, hold my beer. He's gone for it. He's messed it up to such a degree. I mean, and that's why he's fighting like a cornered rat at the moment. And he's saying things like,
But
no, she killed this baby. Get it through your head.
Worse and worse and worse and worse for himself.
Yeah. He's
Saying
yeah.
stupid things. When it actually all comes, when it actually comes down to it, there is so much evidence on even just all his interviews and stuff. So he's bonkers. He's mad. He's so narcissistic that he can't see what deep water he's put himself into.
Absolutely narcissistic, and there's no way back for him now other than some kind of touch of grace from God, in which he says, "Mea culpa, I've destroyed this woman's life. I beg you to forgive me." And he'll never do that. I don't see him doing that. I wish he would do that, but that's the only way out for him. And he's stuck there now, and he should just. But it's the criminal justice system as a whole that have kind of underwritten this. The criminal justice system, criminal justice system has underwritten the madness of Dewey Evans, the insanity of Dewey Evans, and that's where we are at the moment. And weirdly, they're in bed with Dewey Evans, and they probably know he's crazy. And they're stuck with him as well. They've chained themselves to this narcissist. And they think it will look terrible on them, the whole system as a whole, if they acknowledge that this person's a complete nutter, which he is. He is a nutter.
Yes,
I believe. I don't know what you think about that, Mervyn. Do you think, am I going too far there, or do you think?
Well, if you watch Operation Hummingbird, if you can bear to watch that desperately awful 1 hour video, there are such ridiculous things said. Things like the thing about neonates is that you can always predict when they're going to suddenly crash. What?
Exactly.
I mean, you don't need to be a doctor like I am to know that that's complete nonsense.
Yes.
The other
yes.
thing that's extraordinary is when they do crash, they're very, very easy to resuscitate. You must always resuscitate them. It's so easy to resuscitate, and we couldn't resuscitate these, so that was why it must have been murder. I mean, this is just utterly extraordinary.
Yeah, the idea that these babies were complete, that they were stable, or there was nothing wrong with them. So what are you saying, that they're just bed blocking? They shouldn't have been in the hospital in the first place.
Well, yeah, that's a great point. Why are they there if they're not under? Well, especially it's a level 2 unit, effectively taking level 3 babies in some instances, isn't it? But that's right. I mean, in the Operation Hummingbird video. I was going to say professor, but no. Detective Hughes says, I found out, I didn't realize this. He said, I didn't realize this, but nothing unexpected ever happens. And nothing unexplained ever happens either. Nothing, that's what he says. That's what he's been told.
I'm sorry, but Detective Hughes is the stupidest, dimmest person in the whole world. And it's extraordinary.
But he did win an award though. He won the best. Seriously, he did. He won the best senior investigating officer award, and he was given it by chief constables from several constabularies. So he must be good. So he must. It's bizarre. It's bizarre. It's a Alice in Wonderland world. That whole thing. It's just topsy turvy sort of. I don't know.
Didn't Liz Hull get an award as well of Schools of Misfit fame?
Liz Hull and
Caroline Cheetham.
Yes, they did. They won this lovely thing, which is like in glass, kind of a molded glass thing.
Unbelievable.
For the best crime podcast.
Yeah.
So that's going to end up. That's going to end up in a car boot sale at some point. So Well, anyway, it's been a fantastic stream. Is there anything that either of yourself, Mervyn or Jonathan would like to say, I think I might bring it to a close now. But I think it's been
going on a
great
while.
speaking with you both, and seeing all the comments in the chat, and really appreciate it.
Keep up the good videos.
I just say that it's fantastic that effectively everything started in July 2024, because before then the reporting restrictions stopped everything. And within 6 months to have David Davis standing up in Parliament, and of course you can only get a debate in Parliament if you can secure it. That's the particular word. You can secure a debate. You can only secure a debate if there are very important grounds to be made. So if Parliament thought that this was a load of rubbish and that Lucy Letby is guilty, they wouldn't have allowed him to speak in Parliament. That's really, really good. That's fantastic.
It's extremely brave, I think, of Sir David Davis.
Still feel every day so. I'm just so angry. This poor girl is in prison. I try and think of her several times a day. What's she doing? How does she feel? And we just must get her out. And I will never ever stop. And I know you're all the same. Until justice is done and she comes out. That will be a wonderful day. I said to my family, whatever happens, the day she comes out, I will be on the steps of the Court of Appeal, and I will be there to welcome her out. And that will be what I will always do.
That's brilliant, Jonathan. And I think we're all of the same mind. Everybody in the chat and everybody that doing these is commenting and listening. I think there's a great spirit building here, and it's countrywide. People from all kinds of backgrounds. Yourself.
Well, is it a left wing thing or is it a right wing thing to be a Letby?
I'm not sure. I think it's an anti-vaxxer thing, according to.
Well, that's what I mean. I don't know where I'm supposed to be pigeonholed, because I've seen some people think it's like ultra left, whereas I would say myself I'm quite far right, but they seem to want to.
Or you're just right, or you're just right about this. Maybe just right, and you're right about the factions. But so it's like I don't know. I think it's people who recognise unfairness, recognise bullying, recognise, and it's people with a critical thinking ability at some level, isn't it? It's got to be, as something that all of us are.
Well, this is one of the things I was talking about in one of my videos, where they're saying, they've now got the people from the Royal Statistical Society in to debunk this.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Sweeney,
Sorry, there was a bit of a thing there. So should we have that Mervyn, you finish off your point about the Statistical Society, and then Jonathan make his point, if that's all right, please.
Yeah, just the way the media was saying they've brought in these professionals from the Statistical Society to take a look at this, and I'm thinking, well, I'm no statistician, and I could see it was all bogus from the start. I mean, I don't think you need to have a PhD or in critical thinking to be able to see straight through it.
No, you don't. It's just it's kind of an inherent human thing, I think, as really. It's not. I mean, okay. There's expert evidence being given, but there's something instinctive. We knew this was wrong. A lot of people knew this was wrong from a long time ago. They just felt it very deeply, didn't they? And I did anyway, and I think you did, Mervyn, as well. It sounds like there's an instinctive reaction as well. So, Jonathan, what do you think about that in terms of? I lost the train of what we were talking about. So it's the I shouldn't drink, but anyway. So go ahead, Jonathan, with what you were saying before we cut back to Mervyn, if that would be all right.
Sorry,
Sorry.
I'm a huge fan of his, and I'm so embarrassed. The Private Eye, editor,
Oh, Phil Hammond, yeah.
Phil Hammond. I
Oh,
have.
the editor.
He's a genius.
Sorry, you mean the editor or the
People know, but he's one of the funniest comedians in this country. He does tours,
Ian Hislop.
and he's
Ian
been
Hislop
to
is the editor, yeah. Sorry, are you talking about Phil Hammond there, Jonathan? Sorry to cut across.
Phil Hammond is, as well as being the Private Eye editor, he's actually a proper real McCoy comedian. He does tours. I've been to several of his shows. He is utterly hilarious. But the other thing is, he's incredibly clever, and the Private Eye articles are just amazing. I mean, every single article is brilliant, and he would not put his head. He would not put his head on the block and risk his reputation by saying rubbish. He has put together those brilliant articles, and just the fact that he is supporting her, as well as people like John Sweeney, other major people in society are supporting her, and that says everything to me.
Well, indeed, and there's also Peter Hitchens, who's also very early on he's supported. So there's going back to what Mervyn said about left and right. There's John Sweeney and there's Peter Hitchens, and they were at that. There was quite a nice little bit of film of Peter Hitchens talking to John Sweeney, and they say we agree about absolutely nothing, but about this we agree. So that kind of feeds back into this left-right dichotomy idea that it's bringing so many people into this, isn't it?
Well, you know you're on the right side when the more you dig into it, the less evidence of a crime you find. Whereas if a crime actually occurred, the more you dig into it, the more evidence of a crime you would find. So that's why
Yes,
you're on the right track.
That's brilliantly put. I love that, and that's absolutely that's the logic. That's the logical train we're riding here, and that's what we're finding. It's what the experts are finding. It's what Mark McDonald's team is finding. That is it. That's what's happening day on day, week on week, really now, and it's been happening for a long time, hasn't it? Really. So thank you very much indeed, Mervyn and Jonathan Moore. I really appreciate you both being on this stream, and thank you so much to everybody who's listened and commented in the chat, and whether you've commented or not, anybody who's listened. And I'm going to bring it to a close now, and thank you very much to everybody, and I really appreciate you all. Thank you. And I think it's only a matter of time that Lucy Letby will be exonerated, and we'll have a stream then, and then we'll perhaps we'll look over it all and thank God for that. Cheers. God bless to everyone, and cheerio for now. Bye bye everyone in chat, and cheers Mervyn, cheers Jonathan.